Mr. President,
Senator from Illinois.
ask unanimous consent the quorum call be suspended.
Without objection.
Mr. President, this week in Washington, we're going to do something that hasn't been seen for a long time, for over a year. If you're not careful, you may tune in and see an actual debate on the floor of the Senate. Real senators, Democrats, Republicans coming to the floor, actually debating an issue. I'm not sure what's going to happen because it's been so long since we've tried this, but it really is exciting to think about that men and women elected to this body, known as the greatest deliberative body in America, are finally going to deliberate. It's true. And it's by design, not by accident. After a lot of negotiation back and forth, Senator McConnell, the Republican leader, agreed that this week we would debate immigration and DACA, the DREAM Act. It would come to the floor of the United States Senate. I'm excited about it, although I have no idea how this debate will end. In most good debates, you don't know. It depends on the strength of an argument as to whether a measure is going to pass or not pass. But it's certainly an issue I've been waiting for. In fact, I've been waiting 5 years for it. It's a long time, even by Senate standards. It's been 5 years since we actually debated immigration on the floor of the United States Senate. It's not because the immigration laws of America are so perfect. Far from that. It's because it's a tough issue. It's a delicate issue. It's a volatile issue, and it always has been in America. I just have this notion that as soon as the Mayflower landed and the passengers got off that boat, they looked over their shoulder and said, I hope no more people are coming. We're perfectly happy with this country the way we see it. Because throughout our history, waves of immigrants have come to make America what it is today, and there's always been a resistance from those already here to new people from new places with different languages and cultures and religions and food. And we've done some things in the past which are not exactly things to brag about. It was 1924 when we passed an immigration bill. There was a fear after World War I that because Europe was in shambles, all of these people would come flooding into America. And so the Congress, right here in this chamber and in the House of Representatives, passed the Immigration Act of 1924. It was horrible. It was horrible. It expressly excluded groups that we didn't want to be part of America's future. Groups like people of the Jewish religion, Italians, people from Eastern Europe, the Japanese, and many others. That Immigration Act said, we don't want any more of those people. And for 41 years, that was the law of the land. There were slight modifications, but that was the basic standard for immigration in America. Not until 1965 did we look at immigration again with a different view to a broader acceptance of the world as part of our future. And since then, we've continued to have problems with immigration and questions about change of policy. And I'll just flat out say, from 10 or 15 different perspectives, the current immigration system in America is broken. Broken. When we have 11 million undocumented people in this country today, it is a broken system. 8 of us got together 5 years ago, 4 Republican senators and 4 Democratic senators, and we spent months debating a new immigration system for America. I might say immodestly, I think we did a pretty good job of it. We presented it in the Senate Judiciary Committee and faced over 100 different amendments. People wanted to change it. At the end of the day, we had a bill that we brought to the Senate floor, and it passed with a substantial, overwhelming bipartisan vote. Comprehensive immigration reform. We tackled every aspect of it, from ag laborers to H-1Bs to the DREAM Act to undocumented, right on through. We passed it here in the Senate, but of course, with our bicameral system of government, we needed the House to tackle the same problem, and they refused. They wouldn't even consider the bill we passed. They wouldn't come up with an alternative. They wouldn't try to amend it. They just said, we're not going to talk about it, and they didn't. So for 5 years, we've done nothing, and this year, we have a chance to do something. And the fact is, we need to do something. On September 5th of last year, President Trump announced he was eliminating what was known as the DACA program. Now, the DACA program was created by executive order under President Obama to give to those who were characterized as dreamers a chance to be legal in America on a 2-year renewable basis. 780,000 young people had signed up for President Obama's DACA program all across the United States. These were people, young people, brought to the United States by their parents at a very early age, and they were going to be given a chance to stay here 2 years at a time and not be deported and be able to legally work. Well, who are these young people? 91% of them are currently in school or working. We know as well 20,000 of them have graduated from college and are teaching in our schools, grade schools and high schools. We know that 900 of them, even though they are undocumented, volunteered to serve in the United States military and are currently in uniform, willing to risk their lives for this country that hasn't accepted them as citizens. The list goes on. They're pre-med students. They're in first responder status. They're doing some pretty extraordinary things. But President Trump announced last September 5th that the program that allowed them to stay in the United States was coming to an end when? In 3 weeks, March 5th this year. What happens if Congress fails to do anything before March 5th? If we fail to do anything to resolve this crisis created by President Trump, we will see 1,000 of these young people every single day falling out of protected status, and they'll be in a position where they can be deported from this country. For many of them who were brought here as infants and toddlers, they would be sent back to some country they don't even remember, to face a language they don't speak. That would be a terrible outcome. And that's why we need to take up this debate and pass on a bipartisan basis a measure to correct the situation, the challenge created by President Trump's actions. And we need to do it now, because if the House of Representatives is to take action before March 5th, we have little time left. Both the House and the Senate will be gone for 1 week in the month of February, so there's very little time left before the March 5th deadline. And I hope that we can tackle it and get it done. Well, the question that needs to be asked is, what will be debated this week? I think a lot of things may be debated. It's an actual open debate on the floor to some extent, and it could conceivably not only deal with DACA and the DREAM Act, it might even get into other immigration issues. There was a recent poll that was taken by Quinnipiac on some of the issues that might come before us this week in the United States Senate. The American people have been listening to this conversation, and they've come to some pretty interesting conclusions. This is a new Quinnipiac poll that was just released today. By a margin of 81% to 14%, Americans want Dreamers to gain citizenship. Support is overwhelmingly pro-Dreamer when respondents were asked if they support, quote, allowing undocumented immigrants who were brought to the United States as children to remain in the country and eventually apply for citizenship. 81 to 14. Support for the Dreamers is overwhelmingly across party lines. 94% of Democrats support it, 82% of those who are independents, 68% of Republicans support citizenship for these Dreamers. I've read other polls that say even 61% of Donald Trump voters support it. Republican voters support citizenship 68 to 24, white men 75 to 20, and voters over 65 80 to 14. It's hard to find any issue in our politically divided country that brings so many people together, but this one does, overwhelmingly, both political parties and independents. The other side, the president, is proposing a border wall. Oh, we remember that during the campaign for sure. A big, beautiful wall from sea to shining sea, and the Mexicans are going to pay for it. How many times did we hear that speech? Many times. Well, where are the American people on this border wall? Interesting what the Quinnipiac poll tells us. By approximately a 2-to-1 margin, the American public opposes a border wall. And when you attach the price tag to it, how much will it cost? $25 billion, the numbers change. When first asked if they support or oppose a border wall with Mexico, the public opposes it 59 to 37%. A follow-up question, which includes a reference to the $25 billion price tag that President Trump has requested to build the wall, generates even stronger opposition, 65-33, 2-to-1 opposed to the border wall. And then they say, some of them say on the other side, we should slash legal immigration into the United States. Let's put some numbers behind this question. We are a nation of approximately 350 million people. Each year, 1.1 million legal immigrants come into the United States. About 70% of them are members of families of those already here. Some of them have waited for their chance to join up with their families 20 years. So 75% of the legal immigration is family unification. And as I mentioned, some have waited for a long, long time. Many, on the other side, want to limit legal immigration into the United States, want to limit this family unification effort and those who come in with promises of jobs. And so the question was asked in the poll as to whether or not we should cut legal immigration levels. In the Quinnipiac poll, 78% of Americans are opposed to cutting legal immigration. A majority of Americans, 54%, support keeping legal immigration at the same or current level. More Americans, 24%, support increasing it rather than decreasing it, 17%. Even 71% of Republican voters want legal immigration levels to stay either the same, 53%, or increase, 18%. Additional poll questions found support for maintaining the current policy regarding family reunification, 49 to 43, and the diversity visa lottery, 48 to 39. Then we asked some hot-button issues on immigration. And throughout our history, these are the issues usually raised about immigrants. Immigrants, they say, take American jobs. Immigrants, they say, commit too many crimes. If you listen to the President's State of the Union address a week or two ago, he talked about MS-13, this reprehensible gang engaged in criminal activities overseas and in the United States. I don't know of anyone of either political party that endorses that. The President used some graphic examples of their horrible, violent conduct. But when the public was asked about those two positions, are these immigrants taking away American jobs? Are they committing more crime? Interesting result. The American public overwhelmingly rejects the idea that undocumented immigrants take jobs from Americans and are prone to commit more crime. Despite the transparent, relentless scapegoating efforts from some, Americans do not believe undocumented immigrants take jobs away from Americans. 63 to 33% reject it. It's because our eyes can see. Come to central Illinois, near my hometown of Springfield. Go to the local meat processing plant or the chicken processing plant and watch who comes out of that plant at quitting time. Hispanics and Africans taking what are pretty tough, dirty, rough jobs because others don't want them. And take a look, next time you go into a nice restaurant in Chicago, a city I'm honored to represent, look who just cleaned the dishes off the table, and when the door swings, take a look at who's in the kitchen doing the dishes. By and large, it's going to be immigrants who are doing those things. Not many of us say to our sons and daughters, I'm hoping the day will come when you decide to go and pick fruit for a living. Hardly ever hear that, because we know it's hard, backbreaking work, and immigrants do the work. So many jobs that they fill are jobs that Americans aren't jumping to fill. How about the issue of crime? Majority of Americans do not believe that undocumented immigrants commit more crimes than American citizens. 72 to 17% rejected this idea, and that just reflects the reality. The incidence of crimes committed by those who were immigrants is lower than those who were native born. It's a fact. It's a fact that some like to ignore. So when it comes down to the fundamentals of the debate which faces us in the Senate, the American people, by overwhelming majority numbers, have picked their side in this. The question is whether Democrats and Republicans here can find a middle ground to agree on. Remains to be seen. I have been engaged in this debate now for 17 years. That's a long time even by Senate standards. But it was 17 years ago when I introduced the DREAM Act. 17 years ago when I said if you were brought here as a kid, a baby, an infant, a toddler, even a young teenager, and you had no voice in where your family was headed, it shouldn't be used against you. If you've had a good life, gone to school, not a criminal, and offer some promise for a job or a future in America, you deserve a chance to earn your way to legal status and to citizenship. I come to this with some prejudice. My mother was an immigrant to this country. She was brought here at the age of 2. She was the first dreamer in my family, and she was brought here from Lithuania, where she was born. Her mother brought her to this country, didn't speak English, but brought her 3 kids here in the hopes that they could find an opportunity they couldn't find back in Lithuania. For them, the land of opportunity was a city called East St. Louis, Illinois, which is where I was born and I grew up. It offered immigrants a lot of tough jobs, but opportunities to maybe create a better life for their kids. And when it came to this kid, my mom and her family gave me a chance to serve in the United States Senate. That's my story. That's my family's story. But that's America's story. Time and again, that's America's story. My grandfather didn't come here with any extraordinary skills, came here with a strong back and a determination to work and feed his family, and he did it. My grandmother the same. That's the story of this country. Now we're going to debate this week in the United States Senate whether it will continue to be the story of this country. Some will argue, we've had enough of these immigrants, we don't need any more of them. And others, I hope, will realize that we have an opportunity here. An opportunity to not only allow people to come to this country and be part of this country's future, to create the kind of diversity which makes us unique in the world, the diversity of immigration. I think we can come up with a reasonable answer to this. There will be differences of opinion, strongly held beliefs on one side or the other. The question is whether this body, the United States Senate, with 49 Democrats and 51 Republicans, just about as close as you can get, can reach a common bipartisan agreement. Wouldn't it be a headline across America if this Senate actually had a debate and this Senate actually agreed on something? A bipartisan agreement. I see some heads nodding, I won't say where, somewhere in this chamber, of people who are following this debate. I think we can do it. I really believe we can. It'll be a real test of us. But that's what we're sent to do, isn't it? Not to debate and issue press releases and wave our fists at one another, but actually tackle a problem. The President has created a challenge that involves hundreds of thousands of lives, and now it's our turn to meet that challenge as a Senate and to show that we're up to the job. Madam President, I yield the floor.